Thanks for checking out another episode of the Jobology podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, and today my guest is a friend of mine that I've known since elementary school. His name is David, and he's going to tell us all about being a customer success manager. He's going to explain how he manages employees, how he manages clients, and we might even get into a little nerdery. So, without further ado, David. Appreciate you being with me, and thanks for coming on, David.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
First kind of way we like to start off the podcast is if you were meeting some people at a party, or if you ran into me, out and about, and I was like, oh, hey, David, what are you doing nowadays, like for work? How would you answer that versus like, what is the title on your business card? So like your official title.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways, and I wear many different hats. So one of the easiest things that I kind of talk with people about is I manage the experience that our customers have with our technologies and products. So, and I run our entire North and South Americas division, and my colleagues are in the India, China, Japan, and Europe areas as well. So we call it EMA, APAC, and AMR.
Okay, and that's the designations for the different regions that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
What if, I mean, in as much detail as you can or can't give, is there like what kind of industry are you working in, what kind of products?
Yeah. So one of the main product that I work on is a relational database, which is very coincides with the big data industry, which most of us have talked about or heard about at some point in time. I mean, this is data right here that we're doing right here, how we're talking and where it's being hosted, right? So what I do is we work with our data to get it into the multi-cloud, which is primarily there's three main key players. That's Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, and Google Cloud Platform. So we work with your data. It can be any kind of data from financial, medical, etc. And we help you seek answers from that and get answers to your data.
Okay. I'm weary with like, hey, where you're taking your data, whatever. So, like, how do you get that data? Does it they sell it to you, or is it? I don't know.
So a lot of it is our customers' data, right? It's not
Okay.
necessarily our data, but we provide means and ways to make it easier for you to get that data, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put it into an analytical solution. So, and there's tons of different algorithms and ways to do this, just to kind of keep it high level. But not a lot of people have the means to do it. Like it's all very high. Like where do you start? And that's where
Exactly.
a lot of our customers come to us to do. Because I mean, and I get it. It's overwhelming the amount of data that we have. There's different storage devices where it comes from. It's in different places. It can come from filling out your email in a sheet to browsing a website.
Gotcha.
Accepting those cookies.
That's what, yeah, browser side cookies, all that jazz. So it's like
Yeah.
that, all the clicks. It's kind of like following your digital footprint, kind of.
Yeah. Clickstream data.
Okay, man, these are some interesting words that I'm going to need to learn a lot more
No,
about.
we're gonna give you all the lowdown on this, Brandon.
I love it. I love it. I always like to learn. That's the main reason I started this, is that I figured it's best to learn from the people doing the job. So that's kind of where what I like to do and what I enjoy about this podcast. When so how do you get this job? Why do you get this job? Why do you get into this field? Do you go to school for it? Kind of, how do you get started in it?
Yeah. So the first thing when people think of customer success or customer services is, you're calling someone because your internet went out for the billionth time and you're getting ticked off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you plugged in your router or turn it off, turn it on again, kind of thing.
Yeah, the classic reset.
Yeah. So sometimes this industry kind of has a little bit of a connotation to it of like not fulfilling or whatnot, but there's so much depth to this field. the people that I work with aren't people that are they're insanely smart. They got their PhDs, masters, and they've done all these different things. They're engineers. And how you kind of get into this is most people go to computer science, most people go to computer engineering, and they seek that out.
Like through school, like through schooling, like that, some kind of path like that.
Yeah, through schooling, and that's kind of how I landed there. Is I decided to study computer science, and in school, Brandon, you probably know me, but just from knowing me, I was a nerd growing up, and I still am, man.
I was too, and I just was, but I was the kid that was like ashamed of my nerdiness, and like now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't care. I have Wolverine
Yeah,
comics on
Wolverine
my thing.
comics,
I've
man.
got
That's
like a Lego Thanos up here. Like I don't care anymore now. I'm loud and proud about it.
yeah, I gotta embrace it, man. Just bring it in.
Exactly.
I think kind of where this spun up with me in like how I got here is random.
Mhm.
It's very bizarre because in high school I would have LAN parties and we'd put together computers and kind of figure
Yeah.
that out and tinker around.
What was your favorite game to play? I know that's kind of has nothing to do with this, but
No worries at a LAN party.
yeah.
Unreal Tournament was
Okay.
great.
Oh yeah, I
Some
remember that game.
Quake, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
StarCraft,
mm-hmm.
Brood
Classic.
War. Yeah, we played. Oh gosh, we played so many hours of games. Like,
We used to have a setup, and I know we're getting completely off track here, guys, but hey, this is what happens sometimes. Um, we used to have a setup in my attic where we had four computers hooked up together, similar to that, but it was like me, my brother, a couple of friends, and it was Delta Force was the game we used to play.
yeah, dude, there's so many great games that I kind of miss that appeal, right? Everything's so, and here we go again with data, because this is a huge industry too, is network engineering.
Okay.
We don't all get together in the room anymore to play. Everything's so remote. We've really lost the connection to being together and playing games and being able to screen look and be like, oh, I know what you're doing. And you have to counter that.
Yeah, and like yelling at your friend in the room, so much different than yelling at them over the mic. It's like, you don't have that same effect of like, you have to look me in the eyes and like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's crazy how we've kind of lost that and gone to more of a virtual sort of way to interact with each other. But that's the workforce this day, which I'm sure we'll circle back and talk about that.
Hmm. Definitely.
But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but it has its ups too, where you can play now with anybody in the world, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the why to it is kind of like, hey, it was my passion. It was something I enjoyed doing. So I figured, let me see if I can turn this into a career path or a job.
I was talking with one of my friends in college, and he's like, "Hey, like we're doing this stuff on big data, and I thought I'd reach out to you and let you know and see if you wanted to do this." And I was like, "That sounds pretty cool," because I was doing web development, and I love the web industry. It's so cool, and I already had kind of a good understanding of data and how all of that works together through what's called search engine optimization, SEO, commonly referred to.
I never knew that's what that stood for. I always thought it
Oh,
was like some
SEO.
like other term. Yeah, I don't even know what I thought it stood for, but I didn't know it was search engine optimization.
Yeah, I gotta optimize your search results, man. Get on top, be Google #1 link for Jobology.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk offline about that. We'll figure out
Yeah.
some tricks and tips on how to get Jobology to the top of the search bars.
So yeah, I was talking with my friend, and he offered me this, to go work at this place, and I was like, cool, check it out. And I started to get to work on a platform called Hadoop, which is a distributed file system. Um, what a distributed file system is, for this is how I explain to my folks. So, what's faster? For me to give you a pack of cards and say, find the ace of spades, or have 52 Brandons hand you a single card and say, find the ace of spades.
Okay. It's probably easier if I can see all of them at once and go, there's the ace of spades, than opposed to me having to go, okay. And then, oh, did I miss it? Oh, wait. Oh, I did miss it. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's distributed file system. So it's you're doing parallel processing. So you're not just doing one person's doing one job. You have multiple people doing the job. It makes it so much faster, right? So, which is important because hardware, as we all know, fails
All the time.
all the time,
A
right?
piece of
So,
dust gets in there. It's
yeah,
overtime.
yeah. So it's good to have multiple computers doing a single job because if one thing fails, which it naturally does, we fail, computers fail. It happens. It's life.
We're the ones that made the computer, so it's bound to fail.
Yeah, there's a whole thing on AI about that and biases. So, which we don't have to get into today, but yeah.
I have a question about AI and automation and stuff later on.
All right, we can get into that. Um, but yeah, so started working there and got extended a hey, you're a good people type person, you want to be a manager, and here I am.
Yeah, why not? I guess so. Um, just to rewind real quick. So the educational path that you're taking, you get your, I mean, I'm assuming you graduate and get your degree. What is the field or the study that you get your degree in? You can tell I went to college as I don't even know what the terms are.
No, it's fine. So I got my bachelor's of science from San Diego State University, which was great. I loved going to SDSU. It's our hometown college, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I had a lot of great friends and experiences from there. And you could go and study other things too. Like computer engineering is pretty good. Mathematics, like being in statistics right now is like magnifique. Like if you love stats, get into data science. Like the door's wide open for you.
That's very good information to know. That's something that, again, that we like to try and share on the podcast a lot is like, hey, there's other opportunities and things that you may not have even thought of. Somebody brought up working for the post office and then being like, hey, we have a social media manager. Like, oh yeah, like you might, there's so many things within jobs that it's good to know. Like, hey, if you're in if you like stats, if you like math, keep with it. There's stuff opening up for you in the future. So now that you've gone to school for it, you have a in with one of the things we like to say is that there's many different ways of how you can get a job. So maybe you apply online, maybe whatever, but having somebody in the company already refer you, or hey, I think you'd be good for this, apply, get the job, and then kind of work your way up promotionally through that to become the customer success manager. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. So, and by the way, a lot of this too, like yes, it helps you significantly to go to college and seek a degree in these fields. But don't be discouraged by that. There's the technology industry grows so quickly and so vastly that if you have a knack and just to learn and grow, do that. There's so many resources available to you. Being a student definitely helps you. It gives you a good foundation in terms of how to grow, what to learn, and how to just accelerate your skills. But there's so many resources out there from Amazon, Microsoft, Google, that the world's your oyster.
Yeah.
So go check out courses on Udemy, YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just search whatever you want to learn and then YouTube, and then you'll find something.
I've learned how to do horseshoes on horses through YouTube.
Do you have a horse I don't know about, David?
My girlfriend loves to ride horses, but
Oh wow, okay. I'm
yeah,
like, dang, are you getting into the horse ownership business? You're like, I gotta learn how to
gosh,
do this myself.
being a farrier is so lucrative. By the way, I had no
Yeah,
idea.
because it's like a dying profession. So
Yeah, if you can find a farrier to get on this show, do it.
okay,
It'd be so cool.
I'm sure that I could, if I talk to your girlfriend, she could then connect me with somebody who wouldn't be opposed to doing that. So
Yeah, horse world's interesting. I'll tell you that.
there's a lot of, yeah. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've ridden a horse once in my life, but I mean, that's about the extent of it. But I liked it, and it's interesting to me for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna kind of move now to this next portion of the podcast where we kind of talk about what is like an average day kind of look like. Talk about perks, benefits, stuff like that. With the job. So what time, like, do you currently, are you working in an office? Are you working from home? And then what time do you start? Kind of what does your day typically look like? Are you behind the computer a lot, just doing emails, or what's that kind of situation?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So a lot of what I do each morning that I start my day, I have a time blocked out every single day from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And this time is I'm not on email, I'm not on any chat client or anything. That is purely my time to organize how the pace of my day is going to go.
Oh, nice. That's a good. Is that's something that you just picked up as like, hey, this helps me test, just helps me succeed, so it's something I'm gonna do?
Yeah, it's something that I have found that not every day is going to go to plan.
No.
But if you have something set in stone, like it can make a world of difference. A good thing that I guess that anybody can apply is making your bed. Like you can have like the worst possible day where nothing went right. But hey, you came home, you went to a made bed, and you like flung that sheet in, and you got in there, and one thing went right, and you made the bed. You know,
Well, and then they also say something along the line. They, by the way, I hate when people say that. Like, oh, they say the metaphorical, the
the
royal. They
the,
say,
the royal,
right. They
yeah,
say that it helps you kind of get your day going in the right way because you've already accomplished something immediately. Like you wake up, you make the bed. Okay, that's one thing accomplished. Let me start knocking out the list of things I have to do. So you have that hour block, and you kind of take that time to prepare your day.
yeah. And I think in your previous podcast with Patrick, he kind of alluded to this really well, where that hour helps you to really focus in on what you're doing, not just to become like a human doing, but a human being, right? You're being in the moment, you're really acknowledging your work and understanding the quality and effectiveness of what you're doing.
Trying to optimize your day or your schedule.
Absolutely. So I'm usually pulling reports of what my folks have assigned to them, what's coming in, and what escalations we have, right? So possibly what could turn into a problem. So I'm looking at all of these things and kind of just writing them down. And this is something that I think is important. Being in such a digital age, is we don't have a way to tangibly work on things anymore. And I feel that writing it down, not just typing it out, provides me personally, and maybe and everybody's different, a way to tangibly interact with my position and my job and what's going on.
Back to the kind of feeling like accomplishment. Like, I mean, you can type out, a list on your, but that feel of like crossing off the paper, or okay, I finished this entire page, rip out the page of the notebook, don't need that anymore, did that, that there's something about that just, yeah, kind of feels good.
Exactly. It's you get to visually see your progress and progression through the day. So, and typing that out, you just like delete it in a Word doc or something like that. It's gone. You don't see
Right.
the
The
history
fruits
of
of your labor.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I've tried other apps out there, like to do things and whatnot, but I don't know. Just something tangible
Okay.
sometimes can make a world of a difference for an individual.
Nice. So then we hit, we've kind of optimized the schedule. I don't know, maybe had breakfast, had some coffee, whatever else you do in that hour break. And then is it off to an office, or you're off to the home office? What's kind of next?
Yeah. So I go in once or twice a week into the office. Nobody's really there. We're doing flexible workplace. I have a team that's all over the Americas, right? So it doesn't necessarily where I am, but how I make myself available for my people.
Gotcha. Especially dealing with time zones, I'm sure that has a lot of effect on it, of like, okay, I have to balance, like, wait, I have to talk to this person between this time and this time.
Yeah. And I used to manage a team that was in Europe, right? So it would be like 6 a.m. I'm meeting up with them, 11 p.m. at night, they're starting their day. So that was complicated. Luckily, I don't do that today. I do miss them. They're an amazing team to work with. And I still talk to them all. They're still at the company. But yeah, like it's still hard because technology doesn't sleep. The world doesn't sleep. Like something's always going on, which is the beauty of the technology industry. There's always something to fix.
Correct.
I'm once that 8 o'clock hits, I'm now talking to my team. The team are coming in. I'm saying good morning, hoping everybody has a good day. And then we're just kind of going through the motions of seeing what's out there, what needs to get routed, who needs to get engaged for what teams, and maybe what issues need a higher escalation, or me poking some people, going like, "Hey, yo, this isn't good."
Yeah. Fix this. Something's happening over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also syncing usually with my offshore squad too. So my colleagues in India, typically, I'm syncing up in the morning, and then in the afternoon, China and Japan, they're getting in. So I'm on the West Coast. For those that don't know, so I'm usually syncing up with them late afternoon while they're starting their day. So we just sort of do this continue follow the sun, what they call follow the sun model.
Oh, jeez. That sounds awful. Or I don't even know what it is, but I don't want to. No, I'm not a
it
follow the sun. I'm a follow.
it's not as bad as
Okay.
it sounds, but it's
Ugh.
it's essentially it's way better than what's called an on-call schedule.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're essentially always having a team that's on the clock, so that something's always getting handled, and you schedule that appropriately, so nobody's having any implications to the work-life balance.
Gotcha. So yeah. So you're not being bugged when you're off. You're not, and then when you're on, you're not. There's not so much downtime where you're like, hey, what's going on? Nobody's, because either the time change. Gotcha.
Yeah, and kind of the counter to the to follow the sun is on call, and what that is basically it's like being a doctor. Any point in time your phone goes off. Like I used to carry an on call phone as this silly looking red phone, and if that thing went off,
Like the bat phone.
oh yeah, okay, the worst career mistake I've ever made.
Oh, this is good. This was good. Okay, this is
Yeah,
great.
if any of you
Learn
are
from
on
mistakes.
call,
Yes.
yeah, don't, whatever you do not ever set your ringtone to the generic phone ringtone,
Oh
because you'll
no.
be watching a movie and you'll hear that go off. You won't be even on call. I haven't been on call for years.
Yeah.
I hear that go off in a movie, and I'm like, my blood pressure spikes. I'm
Where's
like,
my
oh
phone? Where's
no,
the phone?
yeah, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm not on call. So you
Okay.
out there in the land of the internet, don't ever do
Yes.
that. Learn from me.
Learn from those. Yes. Learn from those mistakes of a distinct on-call ringtone. If you're,
Yeah.
if you're, I don't know. It seems unfortunate to me. I'm sure there's benefits to being on call versus, not. But it seems, that seems like it would just be such a tough life to live.
Yeah. There's
I
pros and
mean, what if you're
cons to everything.
sleeping? What if you're
Oh
sleeping?
yeah. You're waking up, buddy, and
You're
you're
waking.
solving the world's problems.
No. The world can wait. I need my
Yeah.
beauty sleep. The world can wait. Um, how many people do you have like on your team? Like how many people are you managing?
That's a great question. I'm managing over 15 people at this time.
Oh wow. Okay. That's to me is like there's 15 things that can go wrong. That somebody's car doesn't work, somebody has an issue, somebody's internet. So man, okay. That's
Yeah. We it's a really good thing that you bring up, because like right before this, one of my folks is having a problem and they're working with IT to get that sorted out. And there's two ways to approach that. Either you can get really worked up about it, or you can be very empathetic to it and understanding that, again, like we've talked about before, computers fail, and that's the life that we're at right now. We're all working very remotely. Things are going to happen. Just be open to it.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, you have to, if you trust your team and you trust your employees, then it's not, there's no like ulterior motive. It's like, okay, I trust you. I get that it's not working. Things happen. Okay, I can have some sympathy or some empathy here. Nice. And then for your position, we don't have to get specific. If you don't want to talk about it, you can just move on. But is there a like pay range that you're like can expect if you were to be a customer service manager?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the range varies. And I think it varies based on industry. So I wouldn't be able to give you too much of the specifics, but when you're managing people, and not just managing but leading, there's a very big difference between those two. Um, you should make sure that whatever effort you're putting into that, you're getting paid for that. There's tons of material out there to help you. Glassdoor is great. Um,
Jobology podcast is great. You should look,
yeah,
check them
Jobology.
out.
Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit
Yep.
that alert. Hit that bell.
Yep. You know it.
Yeah. So there's ranges. I think it might, for me it's a little hard because what I'm doing is a little niche in a way, because again, though I am a customer, I'm in the world of customer success.
Right.
I'm also an engineer by design.
Gotcha. So you're kind of wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can, and that's something like you were saying, Glassdoor, Jobology podcast, you, it is the idea of it to know your worth. Like, know that, hey, if you're watching this and, you're like, wait a second, I'm not getting compensated then for what I'm bringing to the table. Like, know that, and know that you can negotiate, and you have some leverage too.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings us to what we're dealing with in the industry of mostly all industries right now, the Great Resignation.
Yeah,
This is something that people are finally understanding their worth.
exactly.
Good job, everybody. Like, I'm proud of you. Because people do have worth, and I think it's some companies sort of, they're so focused on what's coming in, making the business better and whatnot. Unfortunately, if you don't bring that up, I have a saying in the office, which is, we can't solve a problem that we don't talk about or we don't know about. So if we're just kind of fixing an issue because it's just easy to go and fix it and not really talk about, why can't we vocalize that and make it so that we can automate that and resolve that, versus having to get somebody to go work on that each time, and focus more on meaningful work. So knowing your worth is important, and I hope you can have a good conversation with your manager about it. If anything, again, this is the time and space to really observe your career goals and paths. And that's why I think this podcast is absolutely phenomenal, because it really opens the door for that.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm definitely part of the Great Resignation. I quit my job to start doing this. So I totally get the vibe of like, hey, I don't feel like I'm being appreciated. I don't feel like I'm being, you know, like pumped up by my support, by my job. So I'm out. And I think that you gotta know, not suggesting anybody just up and quit their job. You got to know, like, you got to have a safety net. You have to know kind of your situation, if you have the ability to do that, if you have something lined up, whatever it might be. But yeah, just knowing your worth and knowing that there's other things out there.
Yeah, and there's some tools out there you can use too. One that I leverage with all of my folks is in IDP, Individual Development Plan. There's a 3-year, 5-year goal, and it tells you what you want to do in the short term and long term. And I can say, using this and really making sure to focus on my people, I've been able to keep all of my folks through the Great Resignation. I have not had a single resignation under me. The only thing I've done is been able to promote people up into different teams that were curious about different, technologies. And as a manager, the greatest asset you have are your people. And I think a lot of people, managers, especially first time managers, really get kind of absorbed and lost in the work and what's coming in, and it's overwhelming. But if you're a manager or a leader or anybody in the company, you should only be leading and managing 25% of the time. Your people should be leading you 75% of the time. And then this isn't like you shouldn't be working on things or not. It's your people are there, and they're the first interaction with everything you're doing. They know the business really well. So knowing who to go to for what issue is like the key to success, to being a very successful manager and people leader.
Right. Something that the question I kind of just came up with or just thought of was, as a manager, how do you balance, hey, I want my employee to be successful and I want you to do well, which is then going to lead to promotion or to eventually me losing you as an employee, as a employee or whatever, versus the like, oh my God, this employee's so great, I want to keep them. So like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, so that's really rough because you have to kind of keep on the back of your head. If you keep them on the team, they're not getting what you want, they're gone. And they probably will exit the company. And that means you no longer have that really awesome individual at your company.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it is a very fine balance, but you have to kind of keep in the back of your mind, like, we are people too. We have aspirations, right? Do you want to be bogged down or held down too? Right. So you have to be kind of empathetic to that and wise to know like how that all kind of comes together. And again, the IDP, this is a really common thing. It's not like an invention or anything that's new or fangled, but IDP really helps to map that out so that you can kind of have a concrete plan that the both of you can agree to and work towards.
Gotcha. And then I think big part of the thing with a lot of people with jobs potentially is, I mean, I know I had this with different jobs where I'm working in an office or something, and go in and I've completed my assignments or my job in the first 10 minutes. And I'm like, well, now I'm just waiting for an email to come in or something here, twiddling my thumbs. But if you have that kind of performance kind of plan set in place of like, okay, now that I know, okay, I need to be doing this, and this, great. I can go do other things. And then that kind of gives you the confidence as a manager of like, hey, I know that they're busy, they're doing what they have to do.
Yeah, yeah, and that's important too because there's some slow days and there's some crazy days. But on the slow days, those are the days where it's like, I always want to go listen to this audio book or whatever, and put that on. I don't know about you, but I can't work and listen to like words at the same time.
It doesn't really work. No, because I start getting distracted.
Yeah, yeah, like I can't do it. But having that downtime, it allows you to really hone in on where you want to go, where's your growth. So and for those that are lost out there that don't know where they want to go, it's okay. Some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't know what they want to do with their lives, and they're doing amazing things. Um, so I think we put too much pressure on people to really figure out what they want to do and what they in life, especially in high school. Like you have to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life, and it's like I don't know.
It's like I'm 17 years old. I don't even know who I am yet, but I have
Yeah,
to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of my life right now. No thanks.
yeah. I think we forget to enjoy the ride sometimes.
I like that too. Yeah, because that's something I try and do a lot is, take in the moment instead of just letting, it go, is like actually pause for a second and be like, okay, this is cool. Like this is a cool experience, whether it be at a baseball game or a concert or whatever it is, but you kind of just take that moment and like enjoy it. Um, is there any, so I'm assuming you have medical, dental, 401, like all those benefits. You're a salaried employee also, I'm assuming?
Yeah, salaried. So yeah, 401k, dental, vision, the normal package.
Gotcha. All the regular benefits. Is there any perks that maybe we wouldn't see or that we wouldn't know about if you were like, something I could maybe see? I don't know if this is right or not, but something I could maybe see is like, if you're working with a cool customer or with a, new thing, and you get first access to something, or you get like first dibs on a new product or a new software or a new whatever.
Yeah, so this is a good question. Yeah, there's definitely perks, especially for some of the customers I have partnerships with, right? So car companies, manufacturing companies, banks, list goes on. Again, a lot of what we do is in multiple industries. So for what it's worth, like there are some perks. Can't go specifically into them per se for what we do, but it really does open the door to like some cool things, like you can get a discount on some cars or types of cars.
Dang. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something I would consider a perk. Um, as we kind of move now into like career trajectory, you've kind of already done one of the jumps, I'm assuming, from, employee to manager. Is there more like steps that you're looking to do? Is it like, hey, now that I'm manager, this is where I'm meant to be? Or like what's kind of, is there like a trajectory for you or for your position?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, the next step in my career is becoming like a senior manager, or even further up, becoming a director. So senior manager, I kind of am doing already in some regards, because you're more responsible for bringing bringing the band together, right? You're speaking with the lateral, you're speaking up, down, side to side, right?
It's like the Willy Wonka elevator. Shoo, 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 all
Yeah,
different
just
directions. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
yeah. So which is really great. I love being able to speak with people, and that's kind of how actually I got to being a manager, because um, I didn't let walls or silos or whatever you want to call it impede me from reaching out and talking to people. When we were in an office, it was very typical that I was that annoying guy that was like, "Hey, how's your day going?"
Nice. That's not that's not an annoying guy because I'm that guy too. So we're not annoying guys. We're just
Okay,
interested guys. Want to know
yeah,
stuff.
just want to know. And what you're doing is you're creating connections, right? And um, why did I get this job? A connection. Why did I know the guy from college? I said, "How are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know. So always say, "How you doing?" You never know when somebody could use it. So I think for what it's worth, like senior manager is the next step in the career path, and then director, and then VP, and then
So on and so forth. If by the way, if you're ever like, you should start your own manager, like management of managers company, because everything you've said of like, hey, this is what I think a good manager does, or hey, this is why I do this, I'm literally like, why doesn't every manager do that? So if you created like a, you know syllabus for managers, I think that would be awesome.
oh, shucks, thanks.
Just throwing it out there. uh so I have kind of five customer success manager specific questions. If they apply, great. If they don't, that's okay too. We'll kind of see where it goes. The first question I have is, how do you define customer success?
Getting a thank you at the end of the day, like um, when I'm working with a lot of customers, some of them are great, some of them are sometimes a little difficult, and then what I usually find is the acknowledgement piece is what really makes or breaks success. And how a good journey kind of ends is just a thank you. A lot of folks will tell you in this industry that it's kind of a thankless job a lot of times, because you just kind of get what you need, and you bounce. It's like getting an Amazon package that went missing, and you talk to the person and they give you an update, and you just kind of are like, all right, that's all I need, and you just leave.
Yeah. Or you say the like obligatory, okay, thanks, quick, just to get the hang. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that is usually a good measure of success for me, because it's simple and it's measurable.
Yeah.
So we call those SMART goals.
Okay. Smart
So
goals. I
it's
like
like
that.
simple, actionable, measurable. It's a whole acronym,
Gotcha.
but
Oh, okay, gotcha. Mhm.
yeah, I, there's people that get paid to do this, and I love it.
Yeah.
So, but for
Somebody made $1 million for that acronym. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I got to get that guy on.
Yeah, get them. So, gosh, we haven't even talked about lean processes too. That's a Toyota thing. We can talk about that another time. But anyway, um, Yeah, so success is a big thank you and acknowledgement of what had been done, right? So and keeping that customer on board and happy, right? Some of the customers that I work with that are the happiest, I learn the most from because they're brilliant in their own way. They're also engineers, and when you get to collab with that, you come out a better person.
Right. Well, and I'm sure you're more open when the person's more enjoyable. Yeah, as opposed to if they're being a jerk and they're closed out, you're gonna be like, well, I don't let me get out of this as quick as I can, as opposed to, oh, let me, take the time to actually get to know this person and learn a little bit.
Yeah, 100% that. And whenever I'm working with somebody and they're nice to me, just simply being nice, which seems to be hard to ask sometimes, but I will go way out of my way to make the best experience I possibly can for them, and give them anything they want. So be nice to your CS person. They'll do wonders for you.
Nice. Yeah, that's something that it seems to be throughout industries where most of the people I talk to when they're doing they're like, I you could just be nice, just be a little nicer, just be a little bit more considerate of others, like recognize there's other people in the world, stuff like that. Like, oh yeah,
I get
it's
the
that
buddy
simple.
hookup.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what has been the biggest maybe change or difference you've noticed since like from working in the pandemic to now working kind of out of the pandemic? Is there anything? I mean, I guess maybe remote work, but we kind of touched on that. But is there something else you could put your finger on?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is how we communicate.
Okay.
I think is the biggest thing for us. I work with a lot of folks that have been in the industry for 40 plus years. I'm one of the
Oh
youngest
wow.
managers in my organization,
Oh wow.
by quite a few years, which is great because they're the type of people that really make you better.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So how we talk, I mean, here we are like doing a virtual meeting,
Yeah.
right? This is one of the first things that happened. Everybody started calling, these things Zoom meetings.
Yep. Zoom cashed a big old check.
Yeah, did you hear about? Okay, so off topic. Did you hear
Yeah.
about that company that was Zoom, like not Zoom meetings,
Oh
but like a whole other
no.
Zoom, and like their stock was like skyrocketing, and they're like, what's
What is
going
going
on?
on? Yeah, because
Yeah,
people were buying the. Oh my gosh.
they're buying the wrong
Wrong
stock.
stock. Oh no. That's got to be a disaster. Oh, that's got to be a disaster once you figure that out.
Yeah,
You're
just
like,
like
I thought I got into Zoom at the bottom, but you got into the wrong Zoom at the bottom.
yeah, the poor company. But
Jeez Louise,
the
that's wild.
yeah, but communication is definitely the thing that's changed, from virtual meetings to how we're acknowledging each other through MS Teams, Slack, pick your poison in terms of messaging. So it's a completely different landscape. The people on my team, I've only met in person four of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So my previous team, I had met every single one of them, even including the person that was in Europe.
Oh wow. Did you get to go there? Or did they come here?
They came here.
Ah,
I wish I
that
got
was
to
fun.
go. It'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Do you get to travel at all for your job?
Yeah. So before I was definitely traveling, going all over the place, especially for conferences. That is one of the biggest thing I miss is conferences.
Yeah.
So hopefully someday. I mean, I just got back from Comic Con, so
Yeah.
which
Right.
was great. Yeah,
Oh yeah. I saw some of the stuff online. It looked awesome. But
it was great.
yeah.
So yeah, communication is the biggest thing, and face to face, even in customers, especially with customers, is the
Mhm.
biggest thing that has just altered its landscape.
Gotcha. As like kind of we're getting into what seems to be one of the times with the highest job turnover, as we kind of mentioned the great resignation earlier, is there we kind of talked how do you keep your employees, but how do you instill like confidence in the customer? So if the customer's like, hey, everybody's quitting their jobs, everybody's, how do I know you're going to be there for me?
Yeah, so that's a great question, especially where like kind of experienced this first being that
Mhm.
customer where I'm like, gosh, like
Yeah.
I'm not getting this on time. It's taking me this long. There's now a chip shortage. I don't know if you know about this.
Heard about that. We tried to buy a car recently, and yeah, that was like one of the things I kept mentioning.
Yeah. So being a customer, like yourself, like you have, that's a great question to ask. And a lot of it again is timely, is acknowledgement, but in a timely way. So I'm able to monitor and see when, and this is again that block that I have in the morning. I'm able to see what customers updated tickets. I've seen, who's and what's out there, what's going to turn into a problem. So again, acknowledgement's key. Escalating appropriately, not escalating. Not doing this cry wolf thing.
Right. Red flag, red flag, red flag. It's not a red flag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when everything's a red flag, what's a red flag?
Yeah. Nothing.
You
Yeah. If
invented,
everything's a red flag, nothing's a red flag.
yeah, you end up having to invent a new color red flag where it's like
Exactly.
magenta red flag.
Well, three
So
red flags. Have you ever seen the Office thing where Michael talks about how he's like, well, three red flags means urgent. Two red flags means it's not urgent, but you can, and one red flag means it's whatever. It's like, how about just if it's urgent, we do red flag. If not, no, no.
yeah, and as a customer too, you can also provide really mixed signals,
Yeah.
right, in terms of the urgency. Where I think a lot of folks forget the impact of the request, right?
Mhm.
Like you might have something that you're just testing for the first time and it's not working, versus somebody's testing something on what we call production, which is
Yeah.
like the live instance, and it's not working. What takes more impact,
What
right?
takes precedence? I think the
Yeah,
live. Yeah.
those aren't equal.
No. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
So even as a customer, or and on the other side of it too, being in customer success, it's your job to make sure to level set the expectation, to provide clarity in terms of what they're entitled to, and which is sometimes really difficult of a thing to navigate. It's literally like navigating a storm, so you best have a good captain.
Yeah. Well, and the storm can change at a moment's notice.
Yeah, exactly, right. So um again, acknowledgement's one of the first things I would say to do is acknowledge what's going on, acknowledge the impact, and understand what's going on. Why is this thing so critical? Because maybe there is something where they're doing something on test, but it's going live tomorrow, and you wouldn't be able to know that if you hadn't had to ask, like why is this so impactful for you?
Right. Why? What's going on? Why is this? Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I'm as a customer, I prefer the human interaction side of things. Uh, I notice that we're trending more towards automation. Is that a trend that is going to continue to happen, or are we finally said we've had enough of these robots, back to regular humans?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's something that I think plagues a lot of people, that, oh no, the robots are taking over the world. We're all going to lose our jobs.
I mean, I'm not worried about I'm not worried about a robot takeover only because I'm like water. I don't know why that never like a thing like water. Just throw water. You're fine.
Yeah,
You're
you're
good. It's not
fine.
gonna get you. Just throw some water on it. You'll be fine. But yeah, from a like either job standpoint of jobs getting automated, it's or just you call and now I'm dealing with press one if you blah, blah like I can't deal with it. I just need humans. But am I out of luck on this?
So let me tell you the good news. The good news is um, there's a lot of things that can be resolved in 10 seconds. And there's a lot of things that need days to fix.
Gotcha.
A good example of this, I will use an external source, Microsoft.
Okay.
Microsoft had this story about how they were going to employ a bot to take care of their refunds. People at first were very hesitant about that because they want to talk to somebody, because this could be complicated. And
It's their money.
yeah, a lot of the concerns that you and I both have about, it's not having a person experience anymore. But once they found out that they could do a refund in like 15 seconds,
Yeah.
people were like, oh, okay, that took 15 seconds and not 3 days to process. That's cool.
Yeah, I do have to agree. There is some good. There is some good.
Yeah. So we're the technology industry is expanding so quickly and vastly that there's so many of these repetitious tasks that really clog the pipes for us to be able to resolve other issues quickly and effectively. So a lot of I would say that automation is great if used wisely and effectively. Like automation isn't a tool or a mechanism to replace headcount. And I know like there's that is one of the main like, oh gosh, about automation. Um, but if you can automate those the low-hanging fruit and take care of what is taking the most time to resolve and get people more senior and more train them up and invest in your people, um, that's where
Yeah,
it's at. That's
yeah,
where
it's
it's
going to
at.
be better for the future in general.
There's I'm forgetting the term right now. There's even automation in place where like it kind of screen captures what you're doing. And if you're doing the same repetitious task over and over again, there's scripts that will actually spin up to say like, hey, I've seen you've been doing this task like 20 times. So we call this computer vision. But it's,
You could do it faster if you just do. Yeah.
yeah, here's a button, you know, click this button.
Does a little paperclip guy pop up and like tell you, you click the little paperclip guy and he's like, hey, it looks like you're trying to write an essay. You're so
Luckily,
important.
yeah, Clippy luckily does not come
Oh
up.
man. My guy. I love that little guy.
uh,
Oh, so we kind of had talked about when we talked about defining customer success. You said, not unfortunately, not every customer interaction is a great one. If you are dealing with a customer complaint, do you have a trick or tactic that you like to use or to imply to like, I don't know, simmer the situation down or like bring everybody back to level?
yeah, so definitely had my fair share of experiences. One of the ones that I really like, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, is uh, meeting the customer. This was a way more effective before the COVID times, but I used to be able to fly out to sites and meet them face to face and
Gotcha.
have that sit down and just put together a prioritization of what they're doing, what we need to do. Um, and again, this kind of falls into that acknowledgement kind of thing.
Kind of like letting them know that you hear them. Like, hey, I hear your situation. It's not just me listening. Like, I actually hear it. I'm not just whatever.
Yeah, follow up on your word, right? Like if you promise to do something, you do it and you follow up and make sure that if you say you're giving an update on Friday, you give that update on, first thing on Friday.
Whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, it, I've had plenty of updates where I'm like, hey, so and so, we've been looking into this and we can't seem to figure out the problem yet. This is what we're doing. If you want to call and talk about this, here's my phone number. Give me a call.
Gotcha.
And sometimes I just go, oh, that's cool. Thanks. Have a great weekend. And I'm like,
Right. But it's like letting them know that you're there for them, that, hey, I'm working on this. It is something that because I think as a customer, that is something that I'm always like, okay, did we just get off the phone? And then you're like, oh God, I'll deal with that later. Or did we get off the phone and you're like, okay, let me solve this. So yeah, keeping the update, keeping them informed, I think is huge. Um, the kind of final part we have to the podcast usually is something we like to do is provide our guests some time to either bring attention to like a cause they want to bring attention to or promote something they want to promote or kind of just have their own little time to say whatever they so choose. It doesn't have to be podcast related. It can kind of be whatever you want. So here's your time.
Yeah. So I guess if you're looking to get into management, um, So and by the way, sometimes the best managers are the people that didn't necessarily want to be a manager. I never saw myself as being a manager, yet here I am. Um, but it's sometimes really hard to find a mentor or a group of people to talk to,
Right.
and that's okay, right? Some of the things that I would recommend is if you're going through a big change, there's a book out there called Culture Code. It's by Daniel Coyle.
And he's got it on the bookshelf, guys. It's obviously
There you
plays a
go.
role. Okay. I mean, if you're on YouTube watching this, you can literally see the cover of it, so you'll know what to look for.
There we go. It's great to do that and read. I'd say read that book. It's great, a great start. Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow is a great book. I think it's probably one of the most utilized books in training. And know that being a manager, it's a constant work effort. Just like learning any skill or trade, you are constantly working on that.
Yeah, and you should. I mean, you should be constantly getting better with time too. I mean, that's kind of the idea. Is that the idea with the podcast is if you guys go back and watch, one of the first couple episodes, and then you watch this one, I hope that I've gotten at least somewhat better, at least somewhat smoother. So that's kind of the idea of it. Just when you start something, you're not going to be the best at it. It's just not going to take off right away. You got to work at it, and then you'll get where you're trying to go.
Yeah, no one started off as Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, or it's the race is long, right? And in the end, it's only with yourself that you make the difference in this life. So
everybody's giving me the clips. That's the social clip right there too. Look at that. Bang.
click.
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to you. And if you have a really difficult time habit building, this is something I'm improving. There's a book called Atomic Habits that I would recommend out there.
I have it. It's on my bookshelf. I started reading that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check it out. I can recommend that one too. I can't recommend a lot of books because I don't read a lot, but I can recommend that one. So yes, check that one out too.
Saving Grace too. We talked about it earlier. I don't like to read books a lot. I like to read manuals. I'm weird like that. No surprise, but audiobooks have been my jam lately.
Yeah, that's something that's a little more passive. I haven't gotten too into it yet because I know my brain, and I know that if I do that, I'm going to start doing something, and then it's going to be like chapter 30, and it'll be like, wait, I just saw chapter 1. What happened to all? What is going on? So I do have to make sure that I focus, but that is something I want to try and get into a little bit more, is the audiobook. So it's a good call. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And yeah, if again, everyone's different on it too. So if you are a book person, don't let audiobooks substitute having a tangible source for you. Because some people like that flipping, that's how they do the same thing that we talked about to begin with. They scratching it off.
Well, and I think I don't quote me on this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not whatever, but I feel like it helps me a little bit more when I'm physically reading it, of retaining the words, retaining what I'm reading. And then also if I'm like, hey, what does that word mean? I'll go look it up, as opposed to if I'm hearing it, I might just breeze past it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this for me. I'm looking at my board, but I think that's all we got. So again, thanks for taking the time, and look for David out there as a manager, and look for his management course coming up.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for checking out another episode of the Jobology podcast, and thank you, David, for all that useful information. Now, before I let you guys go, a couple quick reminders. Please make sure you're following us on all social media platforms at Jobology Podcast. Also, like and subscribe. That really helps us out. And like we say to end every episode, make good choices.